Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Dave Talk Sports Podcast. I am your host, Dave Ettinger. Of course, you find me every single day right here on the Dave Talk Sports Podcast. Today, even a weekend edition of Dave Talk Sports. It is June 29th, Saturday afternoon/evening. It is 4:48 in the p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As you can see, back in the car. Yes, I do work overnight during the week, so like I mentioned, I get off between 6:15, 6:30, something like that in the morning, Monday through Friday. But on Saturdays, I usually work another job at ESPN Plus. I help with some streaming of games on ESPN Plus, help with broadcasts and things like that. So on my way back into Manhattan as we speak, so I'll hang out with you guys for the next 15 or 20 minutes or so until I get into the city. So, a busy Saturday in the sports world, some of it taking place across the pond in London. The Yankees and the Red Sox, the biggest rivalry in the history of definitely baseball, arguably in all of sports, have taken their talents across to London. It's a 2-game set. First game actually still going on as we speak, and I'm going to give you an update on that momentarily. If you haven't seen this game, it's, for lack of a better word, it's been interesting. So let's dive right in. There's other things we're going to get to, but let's get right into the baseball, huh? Yankees, Red Sox, Masahiro Tanaka and Rick Porcello, the starters for this game. Again, if you didn't see the game, you've missed a doozy. Neither starter made it out of the first inning. Yeah, let me say that again. Neither starter of the game, Tanaka or Porcello, made it out of the first inning. They gave up a combined in this first inning. It wasn't just them because they were both pulled in the first inning, but the teams gave up a combined 12 runs in the first inning alone. Oh boy, they each put up 6 runs. It was a nice even 6-6 tie, like 2 touchdowns with missed extra points in the NFL. I mean, just ridiculous. The current score, as they're in the 7th inning, is now 17-7. That's right. This is like a football score. 17-7 Yankees right now as they currently play in the 7th inning. Just insane, just a home run surge. And I know that the stadium that they're playing in is not the biggest stadium in the world, but it's still, basically Major League dimensions and proportions. And I know that Major League Baseball hits a lot of home runs, and I guess that's what they wanted. That's what Major League Baseball wanted. They wanted to show the game to another country, to another culture even, to another part of the world, to really expand the brand, expand the market. I've been getting that question a lot. My other jobs and things like that. I do have a third job where I work in a gym. Some of my friends and members, they do watch this as well, so I appreciate you checking in on the Dave Talk Sports Podcast, which of course you can find on my YouTube channel, Dave Talk Sports. It's also on my website, DaveTalkSports.com. You can find me on Twitter at DaveEttinger2 and on my Facebook page, Dave Talk Sports. What else would we name it? So I've been talking to a couple of people about this, and I get some questions. They all know I work in sports, that I love sports, and usually have an explanation for everything that's going on. Why are we playing baseball in London? Well, it's pretty simple. Money. You can market it. You can expand the brand. It's just why the NFL now plays a bunch of games in London as well. You get games in the NBA as well in London. And it's happening in every sport. The NBA wants to expand games to China and other countries, and you name it. I don't have time to name every country, but if they can get people to show up to the stadium, get people to turn the TV on, they're going to do it. That's as simple as that. So they're trying to expand the brand, and they're trying to introduce baseball to another part of the world. So they've moved over to London. It's just a 2-game set, which is a little bit odd. But that's what they're doing. So like I mentioned, game 1 going on right now, just an insane game. And I guess that the Yankees and Red Sox wanted to introduce the world into the world of openers, and they weren't openers, right? They're regular starters, Tanaka and Porcello. You'd hope that these guys would go 6+, 7+ innings each time they take the ball and take the mound, but you got a feel for what the game is kind of evolving into. Now, it also leaves a question mark for what the Yankees are going to do tomorrow, where they play their second game. You get a little breakfast with baseball. Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when you could watch Game 2 of this set in London. But the Yankees still haven't decided on who's going to start this game. It was potentially going to be one of their opener games. As I mentioned, this is something that teams have been doing. You saw it more last year with the Tampa Bay Rays. They'll pitch guys like Stanek, and you saw it with the Athletics. They actually tried to do it against the Yankees in the wild card game this past year. Obviously, it didn't work out too well for them. But so far, the Yankees have been pretty successful in this, in that they're winning the games that Chad Green has been the opener. Now, Chad Green is not a starter. Chad Green is capable of going multiple innings, and a couple times ago where he was an opener, he pitched 2 innings, struck out 6 batters. So all the outs that he got were all strikeouts. So the problem is you kind of accidentally use that format today in a game that they're most likely going to win, again up 17-7. But they had to use the likes of Chad Green and Nestor Cortez Jr., who was still in the game last that I checked. And you've seen a combined 11 pitchers between the two squads. So it's very interesting, just on the Yankees side, what they're going to do tomorrow and who's going to take the ball. You've also seen multiple home runs, and again, really, really giving London a flavor of what Major League Baseball is like. It's the long ball, it's home run or strikeout. It's multiple pitchers. Teams carry 13, 14 pitchers on a roster nowadays. Last that I had checked, into the 7th inning, the Red Sox were using their 7th pitcher and 7 innings. I think they're just getting a taste of what baseball is kind of like, whether it was on purpose or by accident. So we'll see. We'll see what happens tomorrow. It's interesting as a Yankee fan what they're going to do. But again, it all reverts back to you must get a starting pitcher in the trade market. I know I keep talking about it. It's like beating a dead horse. Get me a real starting pitcher if I'm a Yankee fan and if I'm the Yankee organization to really make that push into the postseason. As for the Red Sox, they're clearly not having the season they had last year, winning a ridiculous 108 games last season, celebrating on Yankee Stadium's field a couple times, and walking away with the World Series. Don't think that's happening this year, but they're the team that worries me in the AL East, not the Rays. The Rays have been a fantastic story. They're winning with very little payroll with these openers that I talked about. And even Blake Snell, their Cy Young Award winner from last year, has been just really, really bad this year. So they're winning in a myriad of ways. And we'll see what they can do going forward. That's really it in the baseball world. There's other games going on, but nothing really of note. It's all about the NBA now. Tomorrow, as I've mentioned, I also feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but if you haven't been watching, you haven't been paying attention, tomorrow, the free agency period in the NBA starts, the legal tampering period at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what we're having right now is the final conversations for these players, at least. Yeah, I know, final conversations, because if you don't think all these players and agents and teams aren't talking to each other already, you're naive, and I'm going to sell you ice in the winter, I guess. As I watch a near car accident here. Again, I'm on the expressway, on the Long Island Expressway heading west on my way into work. We got to be careful here. It's also starting to rain. But, it's an interesting way to join me on my commute. So, a couple pieces of news and notes actually from the NBA world today. A couple interesting things, and from actually yesterday as well. Number one, Darren Collison. Not necessarily an all-star even, not a star, not a superstar at all, but just a really solid rotational player. For the most part has been a backup point guard, but whenever he's had full-time playing time, he's been really good. He's played for the Pacers, he's played for a couple other teams, and I believe it was Friday, he announced that he's going to be retiring. It's all about his faith and his religion and things that he wants to do in helping people around the world. That is a great mission. That's fantastic. I'm really happy and happy for him, proud of him. This is a decision that, listen, he's not trying to count his money and get in his wallet, but he's made a good amount of money playing in the NBA, and he has the right to do that. He's got the flexibility to do that. And even though he's only played 10 seasons, he's only in his 30s, he could continue to play. He definitely has a couple more healthy years in him. He's making that choice. So good for you, Darren Collison. Best of luck with every venture that you have going forward. It seems like a really, really nice thing that you're about to do. Now, from today, another quick note, Nikola Mirotic, he was part of the trade deadline last year. He's an okay player, another guy, not going to be confused with a superstar, but belongs on your team. Potentially in your starting five, probably best suited as a 6th or 7th man on your team. He's a big that can shoot. I think he's 6'10". He's just been a really nice piece, that you can add into different teams. Played for the Bulls. I think he landed on the Pelicans for a while. Got traded last year mid-season. He's just a solid player. Apparently is leaving the NBA and going to go play in the EuroLeague. Again, you have the right to do whatever you want. I don't believe he's under contract anymore, so he's not voiding or breaching a contract by doing that. By all means, good luck. It's interesting. I don't know who wouldn't want to play in the NBA unless he just really, I don't know, he and his family, but maybe they just want to live in Europe. By all means, go right ahead. So it's, I don't have much of an opinion on it. These guys are grown men. They both, Collison and Mirotic have the choice to do this. Best of luck. The most interesting news of the day from the NBA, well, I shouldn't say that. There's two things that kind of intrigued me. One is the Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets had a very, very nice season last year. They competed with the Warriors during the regular season and actually stood as the number 1 seed in the Western Conference for a little while, but for the most part, and they did end up falling into that number 2 slot in the West. And they made a nice showing in the postseason, and then they got a good young core. Nikola Jokic is a beast from the center position, one of the best passing big men we've seen in a long time. Reminds me of Arvydas Sabonis, whose kid is in the NBA. Domantas Sabonis plays for the Pacers, but it's interesting. He's got this really all-around game. Nikola Jokic, and he's going to be a superstar for a long time coming. You look at him, despite being 7 feet or 7'1", he doesn't look like much. He doesn't have any muscle tone. He's like the least in shape, at least, aesthetically, speaking, that, player that you've ever seen in the history of the world. But the guy's skill set is unbelievable. He can shoot threes. He's going to give you 6, 7, 8 assists a night. He's actually a walking triple-double from the center position, which you don't see every day. So he's really the unicorn opposed to a Kristaps Porzingis that you'll find in the NBA. And the Nuggets, they're going to stay under the luxury cap with this move that I'm about to tell you. And also they can still pick up their mid-level exception, their veterans minimum, so they can add some other pieces. But they're picking up the $30 million option on Paul Millsap. For all my NBA heads out there, Paul Millsap is a nice player. He's a solid power forward, a little bit undersized, but a good rebounder for a power forward. Was really good on the Hawks and landed in Denver. Now his tenure in Denver, when he's on the court, really good. But he's been injured a lot. The last 2 years, he's had significant injuries and just hasn't been the player that everyone expected him to be. And he's certainly not worth, even by NBA standards, $30 million. So I'm slightly confused by this move. I got to be perfectly honest. And I get it. You're going to hear people say, NBA capologists, well, they're staying under the luxury tax. They can still pick up all the, like I mentioned, veterans minimums, mid-level exceptions, and round out their roster, sign their draft picks, and hopefully you're also adding Michael Porter Jr., who barely played his freshman year in college out of Missouri, who looks like, at least physically speaking, looks like he has it all and is NBA ready. but didn't play at all in his rookie season due to a back injury, so we'll see what that is. I get that's like adding a player if he's healthy, but this is a really interesting move because Paul Millsap, I am sorry, that money, good for you, Paul Millsap, enjoy your $30 million, but that money could have been spent a lot wiser by the Denver Nuggets, in my opinion. Now, this is the most interesting news in the NBA. Again, just like 24, 25 hours away from the free agency period, the rumor machine is in full swing. Now, this is hopeful for my New York Knicks, but it's probably going to be really beneficial for the LA Clippers. We'll see. I'm not sure. I'm holding out the last bit of hope that I have as a very sad, for lack of a better word, Knicks fan for the last 20 years. Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, they are by far the two biggest names, two of the top 5 players in the NBA in this year's free agency period. Well, now they're talking. They're talking to each other, and they're trying to figure out how they can play together. First of all, good for them. Awesome. Same thing like when LeBron came to Miami in 2010. He talked to Chris Bosh. He talked to Dwayne Wade. They made that dynamic work. They made the money work under the salary cap. And they went to 4 straight finals, won 2 NBA finals as that, as the core of that team. So Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant. Obviously, Kevin Durant with the ruptured Achilles, is going to sit out most likely the entire year, if not most of it next season, and it would be Kawhi Leonard's ship to steer no matter where he goes. How many teams that are on their short list of teams that they're interested in can actually afford to sign them both? The answers are the New York Knicks, the Brooklyn Nets, and the Los Angeles Clippers. I can't imagine, no offense to any Brooklyn fans, I can't imagine that they'd both go there. But anything is possible. The Nets recently, they put out a qualifying offer to D'Angelo Russell, which is everyone expected them to do, which basically means that as a restricted free agent, I can offer you an amount for this upcoming year. And even if other teams, because you're a restricted free agent, try to offer you something, the Nets have the right to match that offer. If they do, they would retain his rights. If they don't, they could say whoever else it is out there, be it the Lakers or whoever else, would then retain his rights and be able to sign him in this free agency period. So that was kind of expected, so we'll see what happens there. But if they don't retain him in Brooklyn, it is possible for both of them to go there. It's been rumored that Durant and Kyrie are going to go to Brooklyn already, so a lot of interesting pieces that are going to fall. Now the Clippers, with the moves that they've made, can sign both of these guys as well, so we'll see. Kawhi's from California. These guys, I think, want to stay in California. Well, at least Durant wants to stay in California. It would be an interesting fit. And then last but not least, but probably will end up least, the New York Knicks. Listen, nothing would make me happier than landing the 2 biggest free agents. All right, everyone's going to tell me I'm a homer as a Knicks fan. Oh, you're just a Knicks fan. No, they've both put New York, as in the New York Knicks, on the short list of teams that they're willing to meet with, talk to, and potentially sign with. And again, it's a short list of teams that can actually do it, that they're considering. So I'm not just being a Knicks fan or a homer, it's a realistic possibility. Again, at the end of the day, I think if you tell me that Durant and Leonard are both definitely going to play together, yeah, it's probably going to happen in LA, playing for the Clippers. But again, I got to hold out hope. As a Knicks fan, I have nothing else but RJ Barrett, a couple of young players, and the hopes that they don't swing and miss completely and sign the likes of, no offense, I got to preface all these statements with no offense, but sorry, Julius Randle, you're not worth the same amount as Kawhi Leonard. Or at least you shouldn't be. So if I'm paying near the same amount for Julius Randle or Nikola Vucevic or these mid-level, free agents, Tobias Harris, all these guys, then I haven't done my job as the Knicks organization. I've failed again. And it reminds me, just like 2010, I clear all this cap space if I'm the Knicks and tell everybody in the world, LeBron James is coming to the Garden. He's coming. Yeah, how'd that work out for you? You swung and you missed on LeBron James, and you landed on, that's right, folks, Amari I can't stay healthy to save my life, Stoudemire, who earned $100 million to ride the bench in the injury room. So that's the last thing that I want to see, is them swing and miss completely and spend all that money on these second-tier free agents. You're better off offering a bunch of one-year contracts, be it DeMarcus Cousins or anybody else, for 1 year, roll over that cap space to next year, and just keep taking a roll of the dice at the free agents, the top free agents, every single season. But we'll see. Again, my friends, this has been another episode of the Dave Talk Sports Podcast. This is episode number 5. I'm in the car. I got free time. You're going to see my face. You're going to hear my voice. And right now, I know we talked about baseball and the Yankees, but it's all about NBA free agency. You know you're going to hear from me after the free agency period kicks in Monday morning on my way home from work. So make sure to tune in for that. Again, you can find my show on my YouTube channel, Dave Talk Sports. Find me on Twitter at Dave Ettinger2, my Facebook page, Dave Talk Sports, and on my website, DaveTalkSports.com. It's now just after 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday evening. So everybody, enjoy your Saturday evening. Everybody cross their fingers at who's going to sign with their team tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. Until then, this is Dave Ettinger, your host of CBS Sports Radio Network. Hope you enjoyed the Dave Talk Sports Podcast. See you, everybody.